All right, guys, I'm going to help translate the end of Caesar's Gallic Wars, Book 1, Chapter 6, and all of Chapter 7 today. All right, so I'm going to start right here with the top of the screen, even though this is review, and you can follow the little bouncy ball at the top. The furthest town of the Allobroges and the nearest to the borders of the Helvetians is Geneva. From this town, a bridge extends toward the Helvetii. Now here we go. We're going to start off with existimabant down here. They were thinking, or they were judging, indirect statement, that they either would persuade the Allobroges because they, that is the Allobroges, seemed or were seeming not yet in good spirit or well disposed towards the Roman people, or they were thinking again that they would compel, provide the essay, them by means of force to allow them, the Helvetii, to go through their borders. All right, I'm just going to go over that one more time just to explain that we have the main verb and then an indirect statement with two infinitives, persuasuros with the missing essay and coacturos with the missing essay. So they were persuading they thought that they could either persuade them or force them to allow them through their borders. Because remember that the Allobroges have recently been pacified by the Romans and that the Helvetii are trying to pass through their territory. All right, I'm going to go on. With all things having been obtained or prepared for setting out, or for the purpose of setting out, they say the day, or they name the day, quadie, on which day they should gather, they should convene, everyone should gather, everyone should convene at the bank of the Rhone. So this is where they're going to cross the bridge. Okay, notice a little present subjunctive there in what we're calling a relative clause of characteristics, starting with qua. That day was, and here we have the 5th day before the calends of April, with the consuls being Lucius Piso and Aulus Gabinius. And we understand that to be March 28th in 58 BC. Remember that AD means ante diem, 5, the 5th day before, and counting inclusively, that means March 28th. Okay, sorry about that pause there. Just a quick note on the calendar here. Remember that March in the Julian calendar has 31 days. So if we're counting backwards from April 1st, the 1st, the 31st, the 30th, the 29th, and the 28th, that's the 5th day before the calends. Right? All right, let's keep going. Okay, so here we start with Chapter 7, we start off with the word Caesari, which is exciting because it's the first time we've had Caesar's name, but he's in the dative case. And here we have a cum clause. We have a little anastrophe here. That means sort of a catastrophe of word order, where Caesar belongs in the cum clause, but he's been kicked out of it for emphasis to put his name first. All right? So let's start with the cum. When it had been announced to Caesar. There he is. So when it had been announced to Caesar, pluperfect subjunctive, indirect statement, that they, Conari, were trying to make a journey through our province. Remember the Roman province. He hastens, that's Caesar, he hastens to set out from the city. And city here is the city of Rome. He hastens to set out from the city, and he hurries into further Gaul by the greatest number of journeys possible, or by as great a journeys as he is able, meaning he's moving really fast. Now, quick note here, further Gaul means the part of Gaul that is across the Alps from Italy, whereas there is a portion of Gaul that is on the Italian side of the Alps. So we have further Gaul, so Caesar is crossing the Alps from Rome. Okay, so he hurries into further Gaul, and he arrives to Geneva, or he arrives at Geneva. Okay, that's where the Helvetians are going to be crossing. Okay, quick note here about the three verbs, maturat, contendit, and pervenit. They are all in the present tense. Notice I translated them all in the present tense. These are also what could be interpreted as historical presents, meaning you could translate them verbed, as simple past tense verbs, provided that you were consistent. He hastened to set out, he hurried, and he arrived. Okay? Alright, continuing then. I'm going to jump down to imperat here. He ordered, or levied, the whole province, as great a number of soldiers as he was able. There were, in all, 1 legion in further Gaul, meaning there was only 1 legion in further Gaul. In all, there was 1 legion in further Gaul. Okay, so he's trying to get more troops, so he levied for the whole province as great a number of soldiers as he was able. And there's an implied and here that's missing. Remember, we call that asyndeton, the absence of the necessary conjunctions. And he orders the bridge, which was at Geneva, or towards Geneva, to be rescinded, to be cut down, to be torn down. So here's Caesar. He hurries to Geneva with the utmost speed. This is what we call Caesar's celeritas, his speed. He makes decisions very quickly. He acts quickly. It is a characteristic of his leadership style. And here we have that in these historical presents. He puts it into the vivid present tense, and he even uses a little asyndeton here to move the prose along. So he levied the troops, and he ordered the bridge to be cut down. All right. Continuing, when the Helvetians were made more certain, which is to say they were informed, concerning his arrival, of course that's Caesar's arrival, they sent legates, they sent ambassadors to him, i.e. to Caesar, and these were the most noble of their tribe, of which embassy, notice that this is a different word, of which embassy Nemeus and Verocloetius were holding the chief position. Okay, so the head of the embassy are these 2 Helvetians named Nemeus and Verocloetius. Okay, these guys who were to say, or who were saying, that there was for them, the dative of possession, there was for them in mind to make the journey through the province without any mischief or evil doing. That is to say, they were going to tell Caesar that they intended to just pass through and not to do anything wrong. Okay? On account of the fact that, or because they had no nullum aliud iter, no other journey. This was their only choice. Okay? We continue with the indirect statement here because we have another infinitive. So they were saying that they were asking that it be permitted. Liceat is an impersonal verb, so we have to say it. It be permitted for them to do this. Okay? It be permitted for them, Sibi, to do this according to his will, or with his permission, his being Caesar. Okay, so they wanted his permission to pass through. Okay, here we go. Caesar, there he is, beginning of the sentence, nominative, Caesar, because he was holding in memory. This is an idiom for he remembered. Because he was holding in memory indirect statement that Lucius Cassius, the consul, had been killed. We have to supply the essay there. And that his army had been, again, pulsum esse, had been repelled or repulsed by the Helvetians, and that he or it, the army, had been sent sub jugum, under the yoke. Okay, so this is something that happened in 107 BC, that the consul Lucius Cassius had been killed, his army had been repelled, and that the whole army, the Roman army, had been forced to pass under the yoke. This is a bad thing. I'm going to show you a picture here. To be sent under the yoke here means sort of to admit that you have lost. This is what the Romans used to do with defeated troops. They would put up 2 javelins. They would cross the javelins with a third, and then it was low enough that the defeated enemy had to walk below it, and they had to bow their heads. It was like treating them like oxen who have to plow the fields wearing the yoke. It was a symbolic submission, and this had happened to the Roman army at the hands of the Helvetians in 107 BC. So this is a huge humiliation, and Caesar remembers this. Okay, so that's Caesar, because he held this in his memory, was not thinking that it must be conceded or that it must be allowed. So here we have a gerundive here kind of functioning with an understood it, that this passage not be allowed. Okay, here we go. Nor, I'm going to jump down to existimabat, was he thinking or was he judging that, indirect statement, men with hostile spirit, with an opportunity having been given, ablative absolute, of making a journey through the province, would refrain. We're going to provide the essay there for our accusative homines and the infinitive temperaturos. Notice how the homines is accusative plural and the temperaturos is accusative plural. That's how we know they go together. Okay? That they would refrain from injury and mischief, or evil doing, or some dictionaries even gloss this as witchcraft or sorcery. I think mischief is better here. Okay, so notice what just happened there. He was not thinking that men would refrain from injury or malfeasance. Okay, and then the men are described as men with hostile spirit, and then with the opportunity having been given of making a journey through the province. So he thinks the Helvetians are going to misbehave. All right. Nevertheless, Tamen, in order that he be able to intervene a space, or in order that he be able to intercede a period of time, while the soldiers which he had ordered, or which he had levied, make sure you get that pluperfect, would come together, would gather. Remember, he had levied soldiers. He responded to the ambassadors that he, accusative, would take up some turum esse, a day, for the purpose of deliberating. Meaning he's going to put them off regarding his decision. If they were wanting anything, the quid here is actually short for aliquid, which is anything. If they were wanting anything, they should return, reverterentur, near the Ides of April, or at the Ides of April. So keep in mind, he just needs some time for the soldiers that he levied to come together so that they can thwart this incursion into the Roman province. And he thinks that it'll give him enough time if he puts them off until the Ides of April. All right, just a few little notes here. The idea of yoke is spelled Y-O-K-E, not Y-O-L-K. It's not an egg yolk. It's a yoke like that worn by pack animals or oxen plowing a field. We've got a little gerundive here. We've got a nice little purpose clause here, ut spatium intercedere posset, so that he might be able to intercede a space. We've got a pluperfect indicative here and a relative clause. We've got all kinds of little juicy grammatical details here. Here's a gerundive expressing purpose for the purpose of deliberating. All right, that takes us to the end of De Bello Gallico, chapters 1 through 7. I hope this was helpful, and good luck on your test on Wednesday.